Welcome back. Today I'm reacting to we might not get another good MMO from how is it called? G1 MMUY. Jimmy, basically. So Jimmy has a proposition of, well, let's just say this. How I got to this video is basically what you can see down here on the right side. SmilingLich reacted to it. I didn't see the reaction, I just heard from it. Then I clicked on this video and I got recommended, hey, reaction. Jumbo actually reacted to the reaction of SmilingLich. And from the start he said, nah, I find it fine. It's a good thing. So there is some positive in, in freaking reaction videos. Just remember that one. But as it is, this is day 4 of my abstinence. This is vorletzte tag from my abstinence, and after this I'm gonna do daily videos again. But for now, let's just see what Jimmy has to say about it, and let's just start. And by the way, if you like my content, leave a like, leave a comment, hit the notification button, and show me and Jimmy some love.
I've been on this spree of trying basically every major MMO recently, and it got me thinking, and I might be the first one to ever have this thought, but I don't think we're getting another good MMO for a while.
Already? Basically agree in the way that we actually already have a lot of good MMOs, but most of the problem we got right now is that people just don't wanna lose the freaking progress in their MMOs they are playing right now. And this is just a little weenie fact. And that's what it is. I'm not saying it's not human, but it is what it is. And even though we actually have or had some good ones, they just won't stand out. I mean, New World is right now, as far as I know, because it's not a personal thing. I am not playing it. I am only talking with some guys that actually play it and find it right now actually more than acceptable, like really good for now. But still, it fucked up at the start, and I don't trust the company to do anything with it. So let's just start.
Other games that come out, they follow a very similar life cycle. A big mountain slope. You start out at the top, everyone's talking about the game, and...
Wait, those are solo players MMOs. And I mean, 12k for the last few hours aren't that bad. I mean, that's actually quite good. You can actually survive with a game on that easily. So, okay.
And it kind of just slopes down and loses its player base over time. I mean, it's a typical life cycle for a game, very natural. MMORPGs, on the other hand, follow a very different looking life cycle. They come in all shapes and sizes. They might start out with a bang, they might start out at the bottom and work their way up. But basically the way you know if an MMO is good and it had any sort of success, long term, over the span of many years, it kind of looks like a real fucked up EKG, like it's the game's pulse or something. Never healthy or stable, but it's there, which is what counts. It's been quite a while since we've seen a real banger of an MMO. It kind of feels like the MMO industry has always just been this game of king of the hill, and the ones at the top have ascended so high that there's really no catching up to them. It's really...
Yeah, that's our gigantic problem. And yes, it's basically, I would say, because you don't have to have a good MMO, by the way, if you were one of the first. I mean, World of Warcraft, let's just be honest here, it's total bollocks. It had 2 freaking instances of effing really bad expansions it had, and it's still for some effed up reason alive. I do not get it. Like, honestly, why are people still playing this game that just F's them over and over and over and over and over again? And because people are willing to actually get fucked. New MMOs? Nah, not even getting a chance. The MMO that actually gives it to me regularly, that is just, that can F up for 4 years on at once, and they still will play it. Waste of time in my eyes, but hey, not my time. No, how do you say? Not my monkey, not my problem. And it is, by the way, my problem because because of that thinking, actually, you get less nice and good MMOs because of it.
Really hard to imagine them being dethroned, and there's not going to be many that try, because not only is developing a massive multiplayer online role-playing game one of the hardest things you can do as a video game developer, but it's also probably the dumbest thing you can do. We can't go into something like that until I tell you about something that someone's going to pay me to tell you about. So 2023 was full of health issues for me, which led to a lot of involuntary weight loss.
Yeah, sorry about that, mate, but we're skipping this one. And by the way, if you actually age, if you actually want to be healthy and such, eat correctly, ask not a freaking normal your house doctor for advice, because they don't know shit most of the time. Ask a professional that actually knows their stuff, if you can, like, in any way. And, especially for the men, get a freaking cream and cream yourself in. You will be freaking surprised after a half a year of me doing that. I look fucking 7 years younger. And I'm an old fuck. Like, really. People actually arguing with me or talking to me were like, you young, what the fuck you want to tell me like you're 10 years younger than me? And nope, I'm actually 3 years older than you. Yep, this happened a few times by now, so just gonna say it, eh? Do it.
Answering today's video. The thing that got me thinking about this the most came from a situation that's been kind of brewing up over the last 3 years. In June 2021, Riot Games put a post up on their website calling for any game developers that are wanting to enter the world of MMORPGs with them. And this was amazing news because it's pretty common knowledge at this point that Riot Games tends to not miss. The things they've been making?
Wonderful games. I don't know any game that actually was a total failure from Riot. Now, let's not talk about the community, because the community is freaking dog shit for most of the part. And yes, I am gonna call them out because, sorry, it is what it is. If you like it, that's fine. But don't expect me to actually not say it. But yeah, the games of Riot, absolute freaking bangers, most of them. Even if the rhythm game and the freaking solo MMO they actually released, and both of them good games, cannot complain.
Pretty good. Well, the MMO community was welcoming them with open arms. If you've kept up with the MMO world in the last 3-4 years, you know that the community is kind of still waiting for that game to come along that's just going to change everything. There was no real official news released for the next 2 years. The only set in stone thing we got was that Greg Street, who was the producer of the project, was leaving the company. Pretty soon after, he announced that he was launching his own company, making his own MMO. It was just very disappointing because he was extremely involved in the community and just had a lot of indicators that he really cared about this and was going to do his best to make it an actual game-changing, enjoyable MMO. Obviously hope for the best. But now about a year later, there's whispers and rumors that this Riot MMO might not even be happening, which honestly would be the least surprising thing I've heard in the last 3 hours. At least. Riot Games has set a huge bar for themselves, which has raised everybody's expectations for everything they ever make. I can't tell you in confidence whether or not this game's happening or not. What I can tell you without a doubt is that it has been a bumpy ride behind the scenes. And if you'd like to see what Riot is most likely fearing, if you look up New World's player count history and see how that unfolded, you can see just how risky it is to release an MMO in the modern era of gaming. I've got around 700.
Why risky? They fucked up step by step. It wasn't because it was a freaking good MMO at the start. At the start, it sucked balls. It was simply a very bad game. And if you're arguing against it, like, for fuck's sake, just no. Right now, it's a good game. From what I hear, I won't fucking try it because it's not worth the time, to be honest. It fucked up once, why wouldn't it fuck up twice? I mean, especially at the very beginning. But, and it's not mine. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I just don't have any fun with New World. I would just tell you to actually go to it if this, but if you're hearing me, you'll probably have a similar mindset as me. And New World, nothing for me. Gonna be honest, not for me. But right now, it should be actually quite fine. So, but all in all, it fucked up at the start. This isn't a really good comparison, if I'm gonna be honest, to me at least, because there are some good games, some good MMOs that actually got freaking shredded apart for, well, just because there were different MMOs.
160 hours played on New World and was a part of the community during the rise and fall of it. And I also saw how quickly that new and refreshing ideas can completely drain the life out of a player base if done incorrectly. New World's game design caught up with itself. Not really sure how long that game's gonna be up for. Probably some of the most fun I've had gaming during its peak. And I really wish things were handled differently so that it wasn't in the condition it's in now. It was a good game with some crucial things wrong with it, ended up being the reason for its downfall. An MMO can only handle so much.
Okay, as he said, some crucial things wrong with it, because I actually thought that he's actually coping hard right now, because yes, New World had really bad stuff from the start. Like a lot of bad stuff, but okay, good.
So many mistakes to the point where even a company that gets their funds from Amazon themselves can't really do anything for you anymore. So there's been some sprinkles of MMO here and there, a lot of underwhelming Kickstarter projects, some that are in a permanent early access phase, ones that scam hundreds of thousands of dollars somehow. But in the last like 5 years, I think New World and Lost Ark are the only two MMOs that can claim they've had any kind of success. I've never played Lost Ark before.
Yeah,
I tried looking up some stuff to get some more insight about it, but just like any MMO you try to get information on, it's players that have hundreds or thousands of hours just complaining about things, not giving.
Yeah, and it's a bit hard of actually finding comments that actually have any worth to it, because if you're playing for thousands of hours in a game, like after a while you just see the faults, and if it's even worth. I had the same thing with Conqueror's Blade, by the way. I was pretty high up there, but after a while it was just like way too negative. And why am I not playing it right now? Well, because it's extremely time spongy. It's a really big time suck, and I don't think it's worth it to invest it. But a lot of people like me at the point of me playing it to this point. At the point was, well, yeah, you complain a lot because you see the mistakes after a while, and those mistakes just rub themselves in your face.
Any real insight to the casual experience of the game. What I can tell you is that it's nowhere near competing with the top dogs of the MMO world. So between Riot's situation and New World's fumble, it got me thinking, why is this so hard? What is going on? Making an MMO has to be the most irresponsible, stupidest idea you could ever go through with. In the last 10 years, there have been 20 MMOs notable enough to make the Wikipedia page, and 12 of those are still up and running. Obviously, there's been more than 20 MMOs released, but I'm just not counting the ones that Josh Strife Hayes finds buried in the deepest depths of the deep web that peaked at 23 concurrent players. They don't really count right now. It's definitely a dark age. Now, I would say when World of Warcraft went live in 2004, that is when the true golden age started. Some may say that when Ultima Online came out, it kind of changed the game. I don't really think an MMO golden age existed without WoW. It doesn't feel right to me.
Now, I mean, I will say there were, of course, there were a few points to it. It wasn't just one game, but it was World of Warcraft at that point. It made up like fucking 80% of everything, so it was a really big thing at that point, and it really changes the landscape to a massive degree. Really massive degree, and you just cannot take that from it. Like you just can't. If you do, you're dishonest. It's simple. Even though I don't like the game anymore. So still, the achievements that they did it. They were really good at that point. They did a lot of good things. So yeah,
WoW did for MMOs what Fortnite did to Battle Royales. Because you may have noticed once Fortnite saw success in its little side game mode of Battle Royale that wasn't even what they wanted their players to try, caused about 55 to 100 others to emerge. Once WoW showcased that you can build a long-term player base with as much success as it had, with as much money as it generated, not only with its initial launch in 2004, but with its expansions in 2007 and on, I mean, how do you not convince investors to let you try and build another WoW? So once this golden age started, much like the Battle Royale boom, we also got a few really, really good games to emerge alongside WoW. They're still here, people playing them. We also got an overwhelming amount of stinkers, some real stinkers that are not around anymore. MMOs were peaking in the mid-2000s. It was the thing to do. It was the style of game that players wanted to play. Even the projects that saw short-term success but didn't really survive, some still to this day have community-backed projects, private servers, to keep the community alive. All these MMO games meant a lot to people. They proved to be this genre of game that you truly did become a part of. And even though the MMO scene was kind of slowing down in the late 2000s, early 2010s, games like Guild Wars 2 and Star Wars The Old Republic made their entry into the MMO scene and kind of picked up the stragglers that maybe weren't really happy with their games anymore or didn't really scratch the itch they wanted and were still able to give a lot of players their home base of a game. 2013 unknowingly became the grand finale of MMOs. It was the year of revival because in February we got old school RuneScape and in August we got Final Fantasy XIV. Both of them existing for the sake of redemption. RuneScape's main game was at an all-time low. Final Fantasy's first MMO, like 3 or 4 years earlier, was a huge flop, so both these companies basically tried again. And now 11 years later, it's safe to say that both of them did something right. Confirmed. Since then, there's been a few notable MMOs that have come out, and they did okay. Elder Scrolls Online, Albion Online, Black Desert Online. These games are online, in case you were wondering. Lost Ark, New World, but none of them really made the impact they were probably hoping for. It's almost as if all players interested in MMOs have kind of found their place and stayed there. It really is kind of...
Yeah, and that's a big problem. Like, and as I said, I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense, because it makes sense that you don't want to feel like you're losing time on something, that you wasted your time. But it's still not good. If you waste after it actually becomes bad, you still waste time on it.
Kind of like finding your home base, and that's just where you retreat back to at the end of the day. We're all kind of safe and cozy in our MMOs right now, kind of making the most of it. But even though the kings are up there on that hill, it doesn't mean they're resting up there comfortably. The wrong mistake could send them tumbling down at any moment. Those profitable, successful games up there, they got up there with blood, sweat, and dev tears. A lot of mostly dev tears. We now have insight to another reason of why creating an MMO is a really dumb idea. Money. Microtransactions have played a significant role in keeping these games alive. They've got to pay a staff to maintain and update and create for the game so that they keep their players there. They've got to pay for these massive servers. I don't even know how much those things cost. And also making sure that they meet the quota so that the very top executive owner of the company gets the salary that they've written for themselves.
This is the biggest problem, by the way. Because you could... As the main executive, you could actually go down and say, okay, I'm not gonna get my 5th yacht. I'm gonna stay with freaking 3 just so I can make a better quality experience for the players. But no. And the microtransaction thing, well, I'm gonna be honest. I understand why. I totally understand. I think it's scummy. It's effed up. But understandable. And why would I say it? Did you know? And I have this information from Pirate Software, because he actually said this thing. It's a guy who, if you don't, I mean, he's one of the freaking biggest guys on this. Yeah, you probably know Pirate Software. So he actually said that the freaking horse armor made more money than StarCraft 2. The horse armor of fucking World of Warcraft made more money than StarCraft 2. Imagine having that data and still saying, I don't wanna actually sell microtransactions. That's hard. Like, you have some stupid fucks that actually pay for something worthless. This much money that actually brings more than a passion project. Like, yeah, of course you're gonna do it. You can do it in a better way, but still. Of course you're thinking about it. Of course you wanna do it. Even I am like the freak. If I ever released a game, I would actually do a monthly payment so everybody can, so everybody has the exact same chance of actually doing the stuff they are doing. But in the end, I don't know if I could resist for a few million just because I colored a freaking t-shirt differently. Because that's very hard to resist. And I bet you every single one of us, if they think they can make a lot of money with minimal effort, would take it.
Question, is Jagex milking their players?
Well, yeah, it's quite a big question.
And whatever they need to do to get there is what they gotta do. Subscriptions by themselves cannot sustain an MMO. It could pay for WoW in 2000.
No, that's not true. A monthly subscription of $10 a month can actually sustain an MMO easily. You just have to, actually do a good job of doing it, and do not hire freaking useless people. Hire people you need and actually do their job. Because I have a similar problem in my job, to be honest. Yes, I am working in a right now, because this is a new job from like I'm working like the first week, and it's basically just a job behind the desk. It's not just behind the desk, that's what I'm doing, but there is behind the desk job. And behind the desk job, I'm gonna be honest, I lost all respect for it. I do not think it's that hard. If you're purely behind the desk, like right now, I think we could really just get rid of half of the people behind the desk and still retain our stuff without any problems. And you may say, but it's, I don't. No, it is what it is. If you're one of the actually few who give a shit about your job and actually do your desk job good, well, then you're in the minority. You're really in the minority. But most people just don't give a single fuck about it. They don't want to work, they just want to get paid. And, I mean, of course, a good horse doesn't jump higher than it has to. Like, don't get me wrong. But honestly, you should still get something out of it. Like still be somewhat good in your job. Like, I'm not saying you have to be like the best of the best of the best of the best, but like, at least stop breathing through your mouth and do something.
7 when everybody was paying a $15 a month subscription on top of buying a $40 expansion every other year. But even that caught up. They have a shit ton of microtransactions, and obviously that's more of a problem for the MMOs that make it big and they have all of these expenses. But any game that sees this big success is going to eventually run into this problem of how do we afford to keep this going. Back at my home base, I give Jagex a lot of money every year through subscriptions. I pay for my subscriptions on multiple accounts, as do other people. And Jagex makes millions off of players giving them monthly subscription money. But you may have noticed while we're over here frolicking in our flowers of polls and community involvement and fun, our brothers and sisters over at RuneScape 3 cannot say the same.
Is Jagex actually this oblivious? We're in a time where RuneScape, at least according to the majority of the vocal player base, feels like it's being neglected, and as someone who's been covering the news and following the game actively for years now, I also think it's being neglected. How does a company with hundreds of employees and, according to the most recently released financial statements, £137 million in revenue, have the audacity to recolor a 3-year-old outfit and sell it as part of some kind of limited edition pack?
RuneScape 3 has
Only ask yourself, does it work? Yes, that's why. It's that simple. Just do a freaking Helldivers 2 thing. Just do that and you will be fine.
Has been contaminated with regularly updated, toxic cash-grabbing microtransactions. It's experiencing increments of worse. Players just begging the devs to please stop, as if the devs have any control over it. RuneScape 3 is the soldier spreading its arms, protecting us from projectiles, while we sleep soundly, telling the devs that we're not fond of this idea they think they're having. But what I'm trying to say is that...
Yep, RuneScape 3 pays for RuneScape. Sad truth, but it is.
Even old school RuneScape, as one of the most populated MMORPGs in modern gaming, only exists because RuneScape 3 offers microtransactions. Because what you've spent on old school RuneScape membership subscriptions in the last 6 years, 10 people spent that same amount yesterday on RuneScape 3 keys. Those are the players that Jagex needs, not you, not me. MMOs are expensive to make and they're expensive to maintain, which, by the way, whoever over at Amazon Games thought that a one-time purchase of a $40 game was going to be enough to sustain a huge MMO. What?
Nope. You're misrepresenting that. I wouldn't assume a malicious intent in this case. You're misrepresenting because New World had actual microtransactions from the start. So, nope. They went for the free to play model without the game being free.
Well, what are you doing? What did you think was going to happen? And then who decided that microtransactions were going to be your next alternative, and this is what you have in the store? They practically begged to not make money.
What's fucking cracking, baby?
The biggest problem that new MMOs are going to face are getting a true player base. Not the players that are there on day one, seeing how long they can wait in a queue. Not even the ones that invest 200 hours and experience a little bit of endgame. I'm talking about the true player base. The player base that if your game shuts down, they will be on the front lines doing whatever they can to create their own version of your game, some sort of backup code to keep the community alive. Those are the players that you're looking for. They're there because they love the game. They're there for real. And those are going to be extremely difficult to get because chances are they already have that game. They're already a part of that community. And most of them aren't going to be feeling that way about multiple MMOs. At this point, new MMOs have to pull their player base from other MMOs. You're going to be trying to pull players from WoW and from Final Fantasy and from RuneScape and Guild Wars 2. The players that already know what they like and dislike about massive multiplayer online games, which means...
True. And this is like an uphill battle, by the way. A really uphill battle. And I already said, but I'm going to repeat it again. For fuck's sake, people, if your game starts to suck, get the fuck out. You have alternatives. Just don't get fucked over time and time again. Do a Helldivers 2. Just do it, please. For fuck's sake. I also want people just to be fucking happy. Or as happy as you can actually realistically get.
Means that by default, a new MMO is immediately competing with the top of that hill. Could you imagine trying to enter that space and these are the guys you're standing next to, trying to gain their players? Good luck. The best kind of player base to get for a brand new MMO is a new MMO player. Ones that haven't experienced the other ones yet, and you're going to be their first experience, which would mean trying to appeal to the iPad babies, the TikTok brains, the fucking Fortnite Warzoners. You know, the ones that can't even hold their attention to short form content unless there is a video below the main content that has some car surfing on ramps so that they're weird.
Well, I cannot complain about that because I'm doing basically the same thing, playing around at a different time. But he's correct to a certain degree, I'm gonna be honest. But most people, if they actually find some worth in your game, they will stay with it, even if they are like down children. As soon as they actually grow up, they will find more they will find more joy in longer lasting things. But if they are like young, and I mean everybody of us was stupid. Not saying I'm not actually defending the freaking kids these days, but you're stupid. At that time I didn't enjoy the same things I do now. That I will wholeheartedly do right now, but yeah, it is what it is, and it's not good, but also I can do shit against it, so just have to wait up and contribute what I can to actually make it maybe a bit better, the new generation.
Brains allow them to stay there. Do you drop a 14-year-old into vanilla WoW Northshire and see how long it takes for their brains to start freaking out because there's not enough colors and numbers? The generation...
I mean, didn't hardcore and classic actually did quite well, so I wouldn't agree with you on that one. That's... Nah, it's... yeah, to a certain degree, yes, but also no. Yes and no. It's a bit hard to explain how I'm thinking right now. How I'm thinking, because no, if the game is good enough, you will bind them. You don't necessarily need the entire stuff actually going around them, like need, but you have to get them to that point first, and they are just not prepared for stuff like that. So to a certain degree, yes, and a bit of I know.
Following us is not going to really be interested in this slower-paced MMO style that we fell in love with. Why would they run around Elwyn Forest or go kill goblins in Lumbridge when in that same time frame they could have had 3 adrenaline-pumping Warzone games to feel dopamine from? They don't chase the same numbers going up that we do.
No, because shooters were only a bit like way flashier than MMOs, or for the most part, and WoW still competed in that case and still won to a certain degree, so I won't agree with this point entirely.
We do. It makes me wonder if the generation following us, when they get to be our age, if they're going to be more interested in goal-oriented things like long-term MMO goals. I don't see new generations coming into MMOs, and I don't see current MMO players jumping to a new one when they've already established their community and love for one that they've been a part of for years.
Hard, yes.
I think the current games that we have in the MMO space are going to remain there, at least for as long as both the players and the devs have that desire. In order for an MMO to take the reins, become the next big thing, to really be the game changer, it's going to have to be very outside the box. Never done before, a big risk. Chances are the next MMO to really overtake these or even see equal success as these hasn't even been thought of yet. But I just have this strange...
No, I disagree with that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just do what you do really good, and most of the time it will work out. Not every time, but I think if you just do the thing you're doing good, then it will be fine. Then you will be totally fine. You can get, because you don't need every time something mind-blowingly new that you actually doing or doing differently. No, sometimes it just, if you make a wheel, make it just a bit better than the last guy, it's fine. Yeah, that's... yeah.
Strange feeling that the next MMO that comes out that has 6 classes to choose from, a woodcutting skill, and 2004-ass fetch quests is not going to be the one to see themselves at the top of that hill with those.
Nope, I disagree with you. Even though I don't play RuneScape, but your skills, just doing those, skilling your skills, just building up your skills, you repeat the same thing time and time and time and time and time again, just so you get this one effing skill up. And there are some of those. Cooking, you make a bunch of these dishes, you then make a bunch of these dishes, you make a bunch of these dishes. It's maybe a bit better than kill 20 goblins, but it's the same principle. So no, I wouldn't. As I said, I disagree that no, you don't have to be a freaking mind-blowing innovator and that. Just do the thing you're doing really good, and you will find people. Because the core people that actually want to play a certain MMO won't lose the MMO except you do something that you do really good, and a lot of people will go actually in that way. And the more people play your MMO, the more you get. The more people will come in because it's worth more. Like, if you can impress a lot of people, like, people will just go into your MMO and gonna play it. It's that simple. The more people, the better. And if you build up your thing, it will be fine. It will be fine. But it doesn't have to be anything especially. Like, just make a bit of yours. Like, so people know, okay, this is this game. I see it. This is the thing that it does really well. And it will be fine.
It's just a hunch. I don't know. This Ashes of Creation game I've seen talked about for like the last 3 years is supposedly going to be the MMO that changes everything. They had this dev blog come out at the end of March, and I was like, okay, this looks cool. And on the side of the screen, I see some quests about killing 20 goblins. And I'm like, no fucking way that
this isn't inherently bad. I'm just gonna point out what I'm playing right now is a survival game. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Is this some kind of innovative new thing that does some things really, really, like all the new things? No. But what it has is one thing. Digging. And digging is something that they specialize in. And they totally effing snuffed the freaking melee component of the game, because Deep Rock Galactic, if you ever played it, you know, there wasn't a lot of melee, but you had that little nice chunky freaking hit you could do, and even buff it to heal yourself. Guess how I know that one? And yes, they totally snuffed it out of the existence. There isn't anything like that. The drone isn't that nice of a thing. Like, the drone is basically just decoration floating around you. It does nothing. But in the original game, or in the shooter game, it does a lot. It's basically your companion. Like, it's something special. It can dig for you. It can hunt. It can replenish. It can shoot stuff. Like, it can do a lot of things. So you don't have to be innovative. You just have to do the things you do well. And what are they doing well? Well, digging. Digging is a strategic thing that just, if you dig well, you're gonna survive. Now, I am a dumbass, and I'm still in the vampire survivor mode where good damage equals good things, but if you dig in this, if you can make the proper tunnels, you're fine. And they did it particularly well. And it's not even something innovative. It's just fucking digging.
this is the revolutionary thing. The next big MMO.
Oh, sorry. Revolutionary. Digging isn't revolutionary. It's just you're digging through stuff. But they do it very well. They do it really well. Like, it has its freaking uses here.
Is not gonna have kill 20 goblins as a fucking quest, I promise. They've already lost in my eyes.
No, they will have that. Because people just like sometimes something stupid to do. You don't have to freaking Wilmex all the time. Always on the free. Because right now you're talking like actually the children of this generation that is all the time on colors and has all the freaking time something flashing between their eyes. This is in principle the exact same thing. You always want something flashing in front of your eyes, or otherwise you won't actually enjoy it. And I'm gonna be honest, most of the time I just like having something stupid to do. It doesn't have to always be a freaking top-notch experience like all the time. Of course, it should be, but sometimes just effing up 20 goblins because fuck them. Yeah, that's nice. Sometimes, not always, because it gets boring if you do it for too long, but sometimes, yeah, fuck them. I like killing goblins. F them. Goblin Slayer.
There's just no way another one of those is gonna be the one to be up there. No. There's a few things that I believe the next big MMO needs to do differently. I think the number one priority is to come up with a structure that eliminates the locust swarm effect. Finish this as fast as possible. Get to max level as fast as possible. Get to the end game, the best in slot, the min-maxing as fast as possible. It's a real shitty habit that we've developed with video games, especially MMOs recently. I think it's played such a big role in the overall downfall of MMOs, why everything feels underwhelming now. Unfortunately, I think as long as a game structure exists that allows for that kind of mentality, it's not gonna find the success that it would have found back when we weren't playing.
I wholeheartedly disagree with this one. Min-maxing isn't inherently in the freaking game, or it doesn't have to be. You can literally win-max Tetris. Yes, sorry for those who didn't know that, now you know, but you literally can win-max Tetris. Win-maxing is there, it's human, it's not games. Of course you can have games that actually like push you to win-max, and nobody wants to waste time, let's be honest here. Like nobody wants to get their times totally wasted, but that's a human thing. And the thing you have to do is actually just be sure that you actually have like win-maxing things, but try to like push the players in a way where they say, if you're doing like your daily things, you don't have to win-max. But if you're doing a raid or something higher, or PvP or something like that, then win-max to the effing high. Because then it's something very different. Those are two different situations. You don't have to win-max by killing 20 goblins, you can chill. But where you should win-max is in a group setting where everybody does their best to actually go around. Except you find a group that actually also wants to chill and do this dungeon like chill. Yeah, that's fine. But not with randoms. There, you should win-max.
Games like that in the golden age of MMOs when things were actually enjoyed. That's why we want to play games solo now. It's why you can get from level 1 to 70 playing by yourself in WoW. And that's not going to make for a successful MMO. You might as well just make a single player game. Other MMOs would benefit a lot by trying a more RuneScape style quest system where it feels almost like a mission with a lot of benefits afterwards, rather than just the same generic copy-pasted coding of a quest of going and getting 10 mushrooms on a tree and bringing it back for XP.
Sorry, nope, not even close to it. Because as I said, skilling your skills that a lot of people do is basically a kill 20 goblins, but it's not 20 goblins, but to skill your... And I know it's not a skill in RuneScape, but your goblin killer slave thing, so you get 10% more damage against goblins, you have to kill 1,000 goblins. Or cook the same meal 20,000 times, so you can level up the cooking skill. So sorry, no, even in RuneScape, it's not some kind of freaking godlike sent from heaven new priority like game that actually does everything new, and no, it's not. The things it does good, but it's not some heaven sent shit. It's really good, but it's not anything. Let's just say it is something special, but it's not particularly special to the point he actually makes.
It's the reason why a game like RuneScape, which people have always poked fun at its graphics, feels more alive than a game with fucking Unreal Engine 5. It's the way it feels when you're a part of that world. And I think a lot of MMOs kind of look the other way when it comes to structuring things like that. They're too scared to try something else for progression. I don't know, they just play it too safe. The world has to feel alive, and everyone's end goal can't be the same. I'm not...
By the way, no. Also, you're saying, yeah, because if it's a corporate product, I would agree with you. But if it's like an indie game with people that actually try something, like they're doing their game, maybe they just have fun with it. Maybe this is the shop that they actually want. Yeah, it's just, no, not always. Like, it's not always that negative. But yes, I still want to say that he's for the most part correct about it, but yeah, it's
I'm not a game dev, I'm just a consumer. I complain. My role here is to complain. I'm not the guy. If I knew what this next MMO looked like, I would be trying to make it. I promise you I would. I don't think any current game devs have really wrapped their head around what it takes to bring an MMO to the next level, but I think with a lot of emerging game engines and technology we're capable of now, we're eventually going to see that thing that really makes our eyes widen and our mouths salivate. It's gonna happen. Could be a year from now, 10 years from now. Our generation of MMO players, probably the only generation of MMO players, are going to be looking for that game. And we'll know it when we see it. But for now, I think we're just gonna be cozy in the games that we play. For a more optimistic look, I think if RuneScape has taught me anything, other MMOs have really not experimented with shit. They have not really opened up the sandbox of themselves. The fact that World of Warcraft just recently released a hardcore version after it took someone developing an entire plugin to do it, just kind of shows how they haven't really tried shit yet. And the fact that they just tried a battle royale is even funnier. They're trying, you know, we'll give it to them. Blizzard's trying. They might be 10 years too late to the battle royale boom we mentioned earlier, but they're trying, and we've got to give them that credit. Blizzard has done everything in their power to self-destruct, and they're still standing. It's incredible.
Yeah.
If they're not going down by now, they're never going down, all right? That company's here to stay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like this, that they tried out Battle Royale, I'm gonna be honest, I rather have it in a way, oh my god, I'm actually defending Blizzard in some kind of way. I hate this. Okay. To be perfectly fair, they tried something new. And I rather have that a company tries something new and fails, or is too late to the party, than actually effing doing nothing.
Which gives me confidence that other MMOs will be here to stay too. So we don't really have anything to worry about when it comes to our favorite games, our cozy home base being gone. And I think a lot of MMOs need to take advantage of this world that they've created and the different capabilities their engines have, and look and see how they can approach things differently, like RuneScape has with hardcore modes, Iron Man modes, and region locks with leagues, restricted game modes, challenges, people like watching challenges. And I think a lot of the big MMOs nowadays have the ability to implement something like that to keep their current active player bases occupied and entertained for a long time. And all that being said, I truly hope I look like an idiot a week from today when that next big thing is announced. I hope I'm wrong.
You know what? This mindset is something that I actually can quite appreciate, especially because I'm in the same freaking thing. Because at the end of the day, if I'm saying something negative by freaking everything unholy that is on this world and I worship, just for fuck's sake, please, I want to be wrong in negative stuff. I really want to be wrong, because the more positive stuff there is, the more fun there is. It's that simple. But sometimes reality just comes in, takes its gigantic cock out and just says, nope, you're sucking that one.
I really do. I think there's a future for MMOs, and we'll all be here for it. Anyway, I think that's all I got. I've been putting together the house video. It's just 5 days of a lot of footage. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. I also have a special project I can't really talk about right now, but I'm working on that beginning of May. Other than that, it's been a pleasure. Great seeing you. Take it easy.
Yeah, I think this video was wonderful, and I'm actually quite happy that I could see a different opinion that I not 100% agree with, and just see a different way of looking at stuff. I appreciate it. But as it is, Acolytes, good night.